Okay.
And it's recording. And now we have Tanczos Istvan, which is Hungarian, and the surname comes first, just like in Japanese. So his given name is
Tanczos
Istvan.
Istvan.
So call him Istvan, not Tanczos, like I've been known to do because I keep forgetting. Here to talk about name conflict with the name pattern search form. Take it away, Istvan.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Take it away, Istvan.
Okay. Hi, my name's Istvan. I'm a former Wreath King of Arms. God knows why I'm teaching a name course, but I'm teaching a name course. This is reasonably information dense, but there's not a lot of information. So I do sort of have slides. Let me see if I can get these things up here. Do you see a nice little thing that says using the name pattern search form? Yes, okay. I was gonna write an outline, the program didn't like me. So the first thing I wanna talk about is how do I page down? What is a character for the purpose of the O&A? Because we're using the complex search form. I'm sorry, we're using the name pattern search form. And the name pattern search form works entirely on characters. So what is a character for purposes of the form? If you think like a programmer, if you know how a programmer thinks, you'll get it. It is one glyph that makes a sound or part of a sound and space. And you tab and all that other stuff, but it's one thing that makes something draw on the screen or takes up space on the screen. Accents are an integral part of most characters. For example, U with an umlaut, U with an acute accent, a standard U. Those three characters are all different. Lowercase u is also entirely different from all of those. And esh is a single character. And OE ligature is a single character. We'll cover how to deal with these in a bit. But is there anybody that doesn't understand what a character is? Please say something in the group chat. Cool. So next we talk about how the form says it works. If you go to the name pattern search form, did I share screen one or did I share? Can you guys see the name pattern search form now or no? I shared the wrong thing. One moment. How about now? Okay, so if you go into the name pattern search form, there is a hints page that says some stuff. And it talks about patterns. The form has this area where you type the pattern. So what exactly is it that you're looking for? Let's say you're looking for me. Great, I can type Istvan and it gives me all of the Istvans in the SCA plus this heraldic title for some guy, non-script the herald. The nice thing about the name pattern form is that you don't need to type the entire name exactly correctly. If you are using the name form, this option number one, if I type Istvan here, I get nothing because it needs to be exactly, exactly what the record is. And so there's all my stuff. Whereas with the pattern form, we can be a little more loose. So let's see, where did my slides go? There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to build patterns to match a name and leave it general enough to find conflicts. The problem we're going to have is that obviously there are there are two types of conflict talked about in the rules. There is written conflict. The names look too much the same. And there's sound conflict. They sound too much the same. Most of this class is how to deal with using written conflict to fake, and the way the patterns work, to fake out sound conflict. So we're gonna do sound conflict, or we're gonna fake doing sound conflict. So think about your sounds, not how you write the name. Jim is a J sound or a G sound, depending. It's the soft G, followed by a vowel, followed by a nasal. How do we write this? So we write a J followed by a vowel. I'll get to what the brackets mean in a minute, followed by a nasal. So this pattern in bold will match Arslan Batujin, because J-I-N. It will find Logan Mersk McJenkin, because of the J-E-N, and it will find Benjamin Xanthus Ruthendale, because of the J-A-M. So from the hints page, this is the URL of the hints page, and it has this on it. So any letter matches a letter in the specified pattern. So that was the leading J. We can ignore these for now. A caret at the beginning of the entire pattern means we're starting at the beginning of the name right here. If you don't put that caret in, there can be letters before the pattern. So when I said just a straight J, it could be all this stuff. All this, I hate the way Word selects things. All of that can come before the pattern because you didn't specify, hey, pattern starts right here. So a caret JO matches Johann, but not Cujo. $sign is the same thing for the end of the pattern. So TH $sign matches Smith, but not Theodore, because the TH in Theodore is not at the end of the word. A period, whoops. A period anywhere in the pattern matches one character of any type, including space. So I tend not to use that in my way of doing things. I use the plus, however, a lot. A plus is look at the previous character or expression. You have to have one of those. You can have as many of those as you want. Think about the banana problem. A plus matches A, or AA, or AAAA. We'll get to how the banana would work down in a minute. /S is any non-space character. So if you're in the middle of a word or in the middle of a name element, you want to use this for anything that you don't want to specify but know has to be there.
That's a backslash, not a slash.
Sorry?
That's a backslash.
Sorry, yes, backslash. Very important, backslash. Thank you, Hervé. Very important. It must be a backslash. Now we get to the brackets. If you have a list of characters inside brackets, any single character from that list can be in one spot in the name, in the word you're looking for. So bracket AB, close bracket, plus will match A, it will match B, it will match AA, BA, BA, because it's one or more of either A or B in any order. It will not match A, B, C, because C is not in this list. If I wanted to do banana, let's say I wanted to do banana, it would be and that the problem with that is at the banana problem that most young children have when they're learning to spell. How many times do, I'm sorry. This is actually what it would be. How many times do I put the AN in the middle of the word? Is it banana? Is it banana? Na, 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 na? So from this and a few more things, we can build ways to match sounds, sort of. Before we go on, we do need to talk about search types. So there's some pull downs here. Beatrice asked that there weren't any parentheses, only square brackets. We'll get to that. Because the ones with the square brackets, it could be BANNANANANNANNA. So, okay, we have a broad and a narrow search, and they are case insensitive and case sensitive. I never use case sensitive. That means that if you have a capital letter in the name, you have to type the capital letter. Let's not do that. Let's look case insensitive. Broad and narrow, those are very important. Narrow is, it has to be exactly what I typed. A broad, when it's doing the match, it strips out accents, it separates ligatures, and then there's some more about this. You saw my title, Non-Scripta Herald. A broad search will include that. A narrow search will not. So if I'm looking for, let's go do it. So there's the broad search. There's the narrow search. You'll notice that non-scripted does not appear here. And that is because it is the owner piece of the record, not the actual thing registered. As Hervea says, always use a broad search. So, broad search for Istvan, always use case insensitive, always use a broad search. If you use a narrow search, as Hervea says in the chat, you need to type all the accents, all the ligatures as ligatures. You can't do AE, you have to do the esh. Aneska, you are so right. Nobody wants to type that. So now that we've done search types, this is regular expressions. This is what the form actually uses. This is a programming thing on how to specify matching patterns. I said brackets, if you list characters, using the dash is A and everything up to M. So this is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. That's shorthand for how to represent that. I don't usually use this. I sometimes use the next one. The caret is weird in the beginning of the brackets, where if you put a caret as the very first character, it inverts it. So this says, I want one of any character that's not either A or B or C. So again, don't use this very often, but it's there if you need it. Much like plus is, you have to have one and you can have as many as you want. Star, very important, is 0 or more. So if you have a piece of the name that may or may not be there, like a preposition in a name phrase, you may wish to use star, and I'll get to how to do that. If you want to use backslash lowercase b, that says that the name should have a word boundary. What that means is that one side of here is a space and one side of here is not a space. So J followed by any non-space character, one or more of them, followed by N, and there must be a word boundary after the N, will match John with a J-O-N, J-O-H-N, Jan, Jen, and Jurgen, but it will not match Jennifer because the N, and it would be this N, or no, it could be either. Herveus, is Pearl greedy? There's a term for the search where if it stops at the first one it hits, or stops at the second. It's called greedy. Herveus says Pearl is greedy, so does Brian. So this is the character that would match this N, and then the character after it is not a space character. So that's why it will not match. Also, Jonas, N is not the end of the word. This is called a pipe character. On my keyboard, it's above the backslash, which is above the enter key. This is a logical OR in logic writing. For regular expressions, it's the alternative. Read this as A or B, and that's exactly what you get. You will get either what's before it or what's after it. So I said I would get to the parentheses. Here are the parentheses. They are for grouping. So if you want Sam or son, you can write it this way if you really want to. It will not match San, it will not match some. Here is the banana. The other way to write the banana. It will match banana, 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 nana, banana, nana, nana, etc. And because of the plus, you can have as many as you want. Slash capital B is the inverse of the slash lowercase b. This name should not have a word boundary here. So backslash capital B, ATE, will match Caitlin because ATE comes after a C, but it will not match Atenvelt because the ATE is the beginning of the word. Armed with this, and this is all in my handout, there should be a link. So, okay, that's a very good question, Astrid. Astrid of Swanvale asks, the hints page does not have the expression list. Where do we find this? You're right, it doesn't. I looked at the hints page and I said, this sounds kind of like Pearl. And I went to the guy who keeps the O and A, one Herveus Morseless, and said, Herveus, does this use Pearl regular expressions? And he said, yes. So if you look up Perl regular expressions and you're not a programmer, you will be hopelessly lost. Don't. But as Beatrice just posted the link to my handout, and you can find it in that handout will remain there at least until my computer dies. And hopefully beyond this computer that's currently propping up my foot. So I see that someone is going to get some of this put on that page. So how do we use this? One way to use this is for spelling variants. My name is Istvan. In period, it was also spelled with a W instead of a V and a Y instead of an I. So you could code this as give me either Y or I, followed by ST, followed by either W or V, followed by AN. Or you can use sound variants. Yay, we're on to the meat of this course. How do we use sound variants? Well, the big thing is try to get as much as you can. Don't try to limit yourself to exactly what the name says. You'll miss stuff. I'm not sure what I was trying to say with this bullet point. Do know that if you're trying to use a caret followed by a backslash S, capital S star, leave it off, all of it, because saying I can have any number of characters at the beginning of the pattern, any number of any non-space character at the beginning of the pattern is what it does anyway. Similarly, backslash capital S star $, I can have any number of non-space characters at the end of the pattern. Again, it does it anyway. Yeah, it also includes space characters. Don't bother, it's not worth your time. Remember that patterns will match anywhere in the name. So if you have Tanczos Istvan and Istvan Toth, and you're looking for Istvan, it will match both. Things you need to be careful of. Unvoiced letters and lenition, what I call names from that damned island, referring to England. I hate Gaelic with a passion, a screaming passion. I'm not sure how well this works on Gaelic because I really don't try to use it for Gaelic because I don't know how Gaelic sounds most of the time. Brian, maybe you do. More power to you if you do. You can use this method, but yeah, most people don't. But for a perfect example of unvoiced letters, as far as I'm aware, these are pronounced nearly identically, but we have to account for the H. John versus John. So let's establish a few rules about the sort of thing we're going to do. What characters don't give me a sound that's very obvious? R, L, O. What characters should I group together? Well, plosives, nasals, I forget what these are called, fricatives maybe? Sibilants, fricatives, thank you. So anybody have an idea why W is in with F and V?
Because it was a variant of both of the others.
What in my answer was German. Yes, exactly, because German.
V was originally a W sound in Latin, so the W was just an emphatic W, and it fell into F in some languages, so they just all spelled everything as a mix of whichever.
Yep. Okay. Vowels. I don't try. Y can sometimes be a vowel. It's much easier to type backslash capital S plus when I know there has to be a sound there. Or a lot of times I'll just put backslash capital S star so that I know there might be a letter here. Let's just put something in here saying, hey, if there's a letter there, include it. Also, either of these will catch ligatures. So thank you for throwing me that curveball, Marty. Marty points out that sometimes W is spelled O umlaut in Hungarian because Hungarian. As I said, possibly silent letters or missing vowels get the, hey, there's a character here, 0 or more of them. Anything else gets one of those if I know there has to be something there, or if I think there might be something there. And yes, what Pietari is saying is very true. You do need some working knowledge of the orthographic customs of the language culture period which you're working with, and every other one you're checking against. And that's the problem. Now, this is not prescriptive. This is meant to be descriptive. You don't have to do it exactly this way. You don't have to do it with exactly these groups. this is just a good start. If you think you have a different way to do it that will catch more of the languages you know, by all means do that. This is why we need a lot of people to know how to do this, because many people catch all sorts of different things. Hello, Fireflyer, what are you doing in my office? And as a general precept, I try to aim for 30 to 100 matches. So let's do an example. Any three-word name. Start of the record. Any number of any non-space character. A space. Any number of, I'm sorry, 3 elements. Any number of non-space character space, any number of non-space character space, any number of non-space characters, end of record. We are not adding IPA. So, come on, this was supposed to be a link. Let's try it. So now we will notice the one reason that we're looking for less than 100 of these is because if we get too many, the O&A will limit it. But here are all of the 3-part names. Now you look at the first one, you see Amavi Persuivant. That's 4 parts, right? This is because this is a broad search and it's registered to Dukes of Brittany. But beyond that, I don't need to look at that because that's just an example. Let's take another example. These are all taken from an old East Kingdom internal letter. When I originally wrote this class in 2013, I just pulled up the open East Kingdom internal letter and grabbed names from it. So every single one of these that looks like it's not clear, every single one of these is going to look like it's not clear because either there was a conflict or it was registered. So let's start with this one. Borujin Aslialdi. I'm not even sure how to say that. But let's give it a shot. So we have a plosive followed by a vowel or 2. There's an R in there followed by a bunch more characters. So that's Boru space Jin. Wait, that's the wrong name because there's not supposed to be a space in there. But so let's look at what it gives us. And this one did get registered, so I should, if I got it right, it would be in here. You notice it's not. So let's go back and try again. Borujin, no, still the wrong name. But I tried to add some more to it. So, plosive, vowel, R, God knows what, more God knows what, but that one has to be there, followed by a nasal, maybe, followed by space, followed by maybe some character before the L, because I'm not sure why I coded it this way, honestly. It was years ago and far away. So we got about 151. That's not too bad to scroll through. And if I look down here, I really better find this Borujin guy right there. So now what do we do? Yes, Beatrice, thank you. I shouldn't be looking for what it sounds like. I can envision it in my head. I just can't pronounce it. What you need to do is go through these and start applying name conflict rules. Is this one substantially different in one element or with 2 changes to 2 letters? Yes, 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 yes. and you just scroll through it saying, is that different? Is that different? Is that different? Is that different? Same way you do for Armory. In this case, when I looked this up, when I was originally doing this, it was clear. Okay, example number 2, Danica of Stonemarch. So I tried that mess first. And that gets me a whole bunch, 503 items. No. So let's try to narrow that down. We'll add, so this is the of, because it's space, any number of characters, space. Can I walk you through the individual codes? Sure. This is for the D. It's the, I'm not even sure what those are called. This is a stop. Oh, okay, stops. What do you know? Okay, so that's for the stop. This is for the vowel, the A, then your nasal. Then we'll just stop doing that name there because that's specifying enough of it. So there's more stuff on the end because we have the K, but I'm going to be lazy. Then we have of, which we're just going to put in as any number of characters, at least one. Again, the space. That's the S. I'm not sure why I threw this in case there's a vowel between the sibilant and the stop. You'll notice that this one is TD instead of DT. The order in the brackets doesn't matter except for the caret. So we're at vowel, nasal. That's stone. I've got some more stuff and there's an R in there. I'll throw that in there. Let's go look at what happens. 14 items. Less than I'd be comfortable with normally. Starlinghurst is not a conflict. Danica of Stonemarch is the instant submission. Daniel of Stonemarch is not a conflict because Danica and Daniel have a different number of syllables. Daniel, the Storm Praiser, is definitely not a conflict. Duncan of Stormsport, no. And Thomas of Cathnar. Sorry, it's kind of small. So one thing we have to remember here is that exactly what Beatrice just said. The central syllable, this one right here, if that's not present, it will be a conflict. So it should be coded with an asterisk on the non-space character, but it also needs an asterisk on the space, because otherwise you will get a space before and a space after, and there's nothing that I'm aware of in our database that's registered with 2 consecutive spaces. So always remember to add that star on the space as well. And when I do that, I get another, what, 12, 13 items? And they're all not conflicts, but you do, every single time you do something with an article, von, vom, of, de la, any language, Polish it's Z. If you see space, Z space, that is a locative marker, just like of, but it's in Polish. Yes, English is weird. English is very weird. It does depend on language. But we also, I think the rules say we also always have to go by mispronunciations as well. So, And again, this is why we want people from other countries helping us, because Pietari just pointed out that in his language, they don't have different number of syllables. So moving on to the next example, we have Diederik von Wolfenhagen. There's that V sound. So we have the stop, the vowel, and some other stuff, and then the R, and then some other stuff. Von. And Gavin is almost certainly correct that the hard K probably would still clear it. But that's for Pelican to decide, not for me. I'm just pointing out how to find the stuff, not, hey, that's definitely a conflict. I'm not sure why I threw this here. There could be a leading something. I have a moth in here with me too now. Great. Then the fricative, then more vowel stuff, and there's a nasal in there somewhere. So if we go and do that, again, it has way too many to want to go through it. So we go in and we add, what did I add here? Oh, because it's fricative, vowel L, vowel nasal, wolfen. So let's add that L, and that cuts it down quite nicely. It's Patricia, yes? Patricia? I'm not sure what culture the name is from. Asks, will this catch von versus vom? And the answer is, that's the piece that catches the article. So it catches any number of non-space characters. So it really doesn't matter which one you get. It will catch von or vom. And again, you also want to change that to stars and put a star after the space so that we can do it without the article. Yes, Vermunder, however you say that, is that it will catch of, le, la, z, but not de la. And that's the kind of thing where you need to know when to look for a de la. Because you only do that before feminine names, feminine, I guess it'd be locatives. So here it is without the article in the middle, and we're looking for, which one was this? Diederik von Wolfenhagen. So there's a Diederik von Valkonen, and there is our Diederik von Wolfenhagen. I know this guy. So, but again, you go through the entire list. Why is that there? Glen of the Outlands, because it was changed to Doran von Falkenstein, and this is what the record is kept in now, and this is a broad search, so it matches that. But obviously none of these conflict because it got registered. So next example, we have Francisco Sanchez Pancho. Start of name is a fricative, vowel R, vowel nasal, some more stuff. Anya is very correct. She says pronunciation, there's quite a few sounds that are very common throughout the world that are not present in modern English. That's very true. Again, why I want to engage as many people as possible from as many cultures as possible who speak as many languages as possible in doing this. So, start of name, first name, Francisco. I put this here because I'm just specifying that there's a nasal in this one somewhere after the first few characters for the N in Sanchez. And then we have the surname, which is a plosive, some stuff, a nasal. And then because I'm not putting a $sign here, we specify and that gives me 5 items, including Mr. Francisco. So who else do we have? Franciscus van Bachheim and Veronica van Beeren, neither of which are conflicts. Next example, Karl van Wiesbaden. I tried to specify, I'm not going to go through this one closely because I only have 10 minutes left. I went too specific to start. I then eased it up a little and didn't get very many, so I eased it up a little more and didn't get very many more. The difference between the two is that one. Then I eased it up even more. There's not a lot of Karls, apparently, von or of or whatever. That was Karl van Wiesbaden. Yeah, there. And again, we need to do the, oh no, it's built into this one. I just went straight for, let's do the with and without possibility. Right there. Next one, Nicholas Johann von Klaus. Not gonna bother with that one. These are all in the handout if you wanna break down. Please feel free to email me. I'll be happy to answer your questions. I just wanna, there's a couple more that I really wanna get to. Shoshana Griffith, a bunch of you may know Shoshana. She's a herald, she works at Penzic. I started out with that. I went to something a little more restrictive later. And this going to something more or less restrictive is a great lesson on how to use it. Keep playing with it until you get a good enough sample that you're comfortable saying, yeah, I think I caught stuff. Okay, this is what I really wanted to get to. We've got Thori Vetardartar. How do I handle the thorn? How do I handle the F? I don't. I ignore them. That's the wrong one. That's also the wrong one.
It's in chat. I pulled it off your handout.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I made these slides earlier today, poorly, obviously. Okay, so we're gonna ignore the thorn before the vowel before the R. We're just gonna start with the R. So this piece here is Thori. Not sure why I put that asterisk there. That means that this space could or could not be there. But this is the fricative. That is the vowels and the F. There's the R. Whoops, don't spot that. Yep. And this is, I'm specifying that this name has a fricative, an R stop, and an R somewhere in it. And if I do that pattern, I will, and I got to go all the way down to the bottom. There is Thori. There's a bunch of other ones. You have to remember if you're doing things with Fs, that you absolutely have to remember to check them as not Fs and not thorns. So there is no Thori here. There could have been. There's no DH for the other possible pronunciation of that name that would have been recorded slightly differently. Thank you, Brian. If you look in the chat, he's got a very nice approximation of what things could be. And then we have here Eric Thorson. This one has too many. We'll go and look at this one. Whoops. So the leading vowel sound, the R, the whatever the CK is called, I forget what the term for that is, and possibly characters after, because the R in sometimes in places, Belar, stop, thank you. The R at the end of the Norse Eric is sometimes pronounced and sometimes not. And then this Thorson. So there's some stuff before the R in the word, and then some more, including a fricative, followed by some more, followed by a nasal. So I did this already. And when I was conflict checking this, I came up with Eric Thorkelson, which I'm pretty sure is not a conflict. But Eric Thorinson, because we're doing Thorisson, there's one change, and that's the addition of the nasal there. And then we have this guy down here named Eric Thorisson, which is probably a straight up conflict. This is not the guy who submitted that name. This is a guy from Callantyr. So it's possible that this guy should not have been registered if Thorin's son is considered to be a conflict. I'm not a good enough name herald to make that call. I would
They were only registered 2 months apart. One of them was probably still in proof while the other decision was made.
No, they were registered 10 years apart.
Are they?
87.
Oh,
and
87, sorry.
So yeah, I don't know what happened. It's entirely possible that there was permission to conflict. I looked, it wasn't mentioned on the LOAR. It's canon that we do when that happens. I don't know how that got registered. The answer is somebody didn't check it. That's why we check. So we're pretty much done, stuff to learn. One thing I found is that using the less common part of the name for the checking greatly reduces your number of hits. Don't use John. If you have John Mazushka, don't use John. How much code to write? How much stuff for the patterns? I really still don't know. Always, always, always start somewhere and then play with it. Watch out for breaks on a name phrase. Ronin and Roland may or may not be a conflict. I'm not sure. But Lestrange versus Lestrange, that name phrase is not different. And you have to be careful that you put something in there to make sure that you get both with and without the space in there. I'm the one that caught that conflict. I don't remember if they...
Ronan, I think Ronan and Roland is 2 changes. Because
I don't know.
I have a question.
Name conflict sucks.
It does. So somebody said they had a question.
Yes. Does it conflict if 2 names sound the same, but they have the name phrase break in different places? Like if you have 3 syllables and one of them? Okay.
Wait, if you have a different number of syllables, it's not a conflict.
No, if they're both 3 syllables, but in one of them, 2 syllables are in the first name phrase and 1 in the second, and the other one has 1 syllable is the first name phrase and 2 in the second?
As long as the name, we break things down by name phrases. If it sounds way too much alike, even if it's like, I don't know, John Athen Swift versus John Athen Swift, I would send that up and pray for Pelican to not go crazy. Because I think by our
It's
rules that's
Pelican's
clear,
problem.
but I'm not sure.
It's Pelican's problem.
Yeah, it really would be. Jimbo.
But the really short version is that you have to clear both sound and visual conflict. Jimbo Dean versus Jimbo Dean is a appearance change, but it is not a sound change, and you have to clear both.
Okay, so this is the crux of what I've been saying about getting more people involved from more cultures that speak more languages. What letters match which sounds? This is hard. There is a thing called SoundX, which if you look at Oscar, if you look at the letters of intent, you'll see a section that says Oscar thinks these names might be a conflict. It turns out that the database that we use has SoundX built into it, and I can say, show me a name that sounds like my current name. So every once in a while, we import all the records that exist in the O&A, and when you submit a new letter of intent, Oscar goes in and looks at every single one of those for every single name submitted and says, okay, so what sounds like Tanczos Istvan? Well, nothing, so I'm not going to list anything. SoundX has about, I think it's 50 or 100 steps, and it's 60 years old. Double Metaphone is one of the newer ones. It has several thousand steps. SoundX does spell Hungarian. And remember what spelling variants you might encounter. I said Istvan is spelled 4 different ways in period that I know of off the top of my head. So this is not.
God help all the Catherines.
Yeah, yes. But this is not a perfect, just apply it and you'll be done. One last, some pitfalls. I'm going to run out of time, unfortunately. Capital S versus lowercase s. This is a non-space character. This is a space character. Don't get caught. We don't currently register abbreviations, but we used to. So Mick and Saint, we have some of them. Don't use caret don't use caret anywhere except the beginning of the pattern or at the beginning of a bracket expression. Don't use $sign anywhere that's not at the end of the pattern. This one gets me all the time. Be stupidly careful about spaces at the beginning and the end of your pattern. It will look for a space there. It does not trim them off. And then the last thing, the NP link on Oscar. This was added a few months ago, maybe a few weeks ago. Let me see if I'm logged in here, and then I will hand it over to whoever's next.
That's me, I'm patient.
Okay, so for a new name submission, you will see this NP link, and you will not see all of these controls because these are here because I am the site admin. If you follow NP, what was the name we were looking at? It was Anna Jane Bird. So this is the pattern that is the dumb, straight up, if I see a vowel, I replace it with that. If I see an N or an M, I replace it with that. If I see, and you'll notice it, I saw 2 N's in a row. I don't need that because the plus takes care of it. That should probably be a star because I think there was a asterisk. Don't use it Exactly. Use it as a basis for your looking. Edit this, play with it. Always, always edit it and play with it. That's my class. Any questions, please feel free to talk to me in the Discord or email me with them afterwards. I am a well-known herald and easy to find. Ask your local Kingdom Herald. They know how to find me.
Thank you, Istvan. And that seems like a good time to stop the recording for this class and prepare for the next one.